Hello, Facebook friends. How are you today? Today, Tuesday. Happy Halloween. All the kids are going to be on their sugar
Facebook friends, how are you today?
And I knew I forgot to push a button. There we go. I pushed it. If you don't mind, I am going to do some housekeeping really quickly. I'm going to share out this Facebook Live, and if you would do the same, I would really appreciate it. We want to get this message out to as many practitioners as possible so that we can share our message that we are exactly what we eat, drink, think, and do. So here we go. I just want to double check that everything is working well.
Many practitioners as possible.
If you can hear me, give me some thumbs up, show me some likes. I want to know that you're there. I've told you before, this is so much more fun, excuse me, when we are interactive. If you have any questions, feel free to drop those down in the comments box below. That would be wonderful. Excuse me. I don't know what's going on today. I don't know where you are in the world, but where I am, all of a sudden it is fall. And it has been very warm up to this point. The garden is still just super fruitful here at my house. We have tomatoes and peppers, and you would think it was still early August if you were to look at our garden, but by my ski vest you can tell it's a little chilly today. So it looks like everything is out here. I am sharing this one more time, just to make sure that all of my followers are able to listen to the show today. Just 1 second. I forgot to do something else. All right, here we go. Facebook friends, we are on together today to talk about an IgE response versus a delayed hypersensitivity. And we have Dr. Russell Jaffe with us on video to share what the difference is. If you don't know Dr. Russell Jaffe, he is a MD, medical doctor, a PhD, and a CCN. He is the owner and creator of Perk Nutraceuticals and Eliza Act Biotechnologies. So if you stand by for just a moment, we're going to put Dr. Jaffe on, and he's going to share the difference between an IgE response and a delayed hypersensitivity. So here we go.
Dr. Jaffe, can you explain what are delayed hypersensitivities compared with IgE-mediated and how they manifest?
Well, yes, since the 1960s, we have had an understanding of the 4 flavors or categories of immune response. And the type 1 reactions are the ones that cause immediate responses. These are the ones that cause hives, wheezes, itching, anaphylactic shock in the severe cases. Then there are 3 that are different than the immediate responses. There are 3 aspects of delayed responses, which to us as biologists and clinicians says, boy, this must be really important if the body devotes 3 different ways of dealing with adaptive immune tolerance breaking for an invasion. So the difference between immediate reactions and delayed reactions is the difference between type 1, which are known as histaminic reactions. They occur within seconds to minutes after exposure, and the history is usually enough to guide what is the cause. In contrast, these delayed reactions can occur hours to days or even weeks after you're exposed to the food, chemical, substance, or toxin. And therefore, history has proven to be rather confusing and misleading when people have tried to keep food diaries looking at reactions that occur days to weeks after exposure. So the delayed is the adaptive response. This is what's called upon when we lose tolerance. This means that the body is being worked from an immune defense point of view with too much defense invasion, too much partially digested foods coming in, too much from the environment that's foreign is coming in. And usually this means some kind of repair deficit. And so we take it up to the level of what physiologically would cause the loss of tolerance, what physiologically would cause the body to adapt these immune responses. And what we find is that people often need more of the essential nutrients. They need to eat the foods that they can digest, assimilate, and eliminate without immune burden. And then they need to be guided in a proper lifestyle and attitude program so that restorative sleep, appropriate movement, and appropriate interaction with the realities of our lives all are called together to rehabilitate, to restore, to rejuvenate, to bring back into a high resilient state the immune defense and repair system that is included in these 4 immune reactions.
And that's why I have Travis in the background to remind me when I'm muted and unmuted. Thank you, Dr. Jaffe, for sharing with us the difference between an IgE response and a delayed hypersensitivity or a delayed response. That IgE response is your type 1 antibody or type 1 response. The IgE is the antibody. Just to recap, that's your immediate response. That's something that's happening 30 minutes or less. That's a skin reaction, hives, itching. That is anaphylaxis. That's your tongue swells or your lip swells when you have a strawberry. We don't want to eat strawberries in that situation. At ELISA Act Biotechnologies, they're looking at the lymphocytes response. So they're looking at those delayed reactions. That's your type 2, your type 3, and your type 4 pathways. Those responses are happening after a 3-hour period of time, after a 3-hour mark. 3 hours, 3 days, 3 weeks. Very, very difficult to pinpoint that reaction if there's such a gap between the time of exposure and then when the symptom presents itself. And there's not always the exact same presentation that there would be with an immediate response. There isn't necessarily a rash or hives or something like that that's going to happen that's going to say, oh, wow, that happened when I ate, fill in the blank, lemons, apples, oranges, bananas, FD&C blue number 2. There isn't that direct correlation because there is such a time frame. But when you're using the LRA by ELISA Act test, you're sending that blood sample in. Those lab techs are spinning that blood, separating it out, pipetting it onto those microtiter plates that are loaded with the antigens for each panel that you select. Those panels are then, those plates are then incubated for 3 hours. When you see in our materials, our educational materials, that the LRA by ELISA Act test is ex vivo, that's what that means. It is the closest in-body experience outside of the body as possible. So we're recreating that delayed reaction, if you will. Those plates are then removed from the incubator and taken to the microscopes. And that tech is visually observing the lymphocytes' response in order to report that back to you. And there are other checks and quality control procedures and such that are in place there too, so that ELISA Act can maintain and can stand behind their guarantee of results and their reproducibility rate. There's a 97% success rate with LRA by ELISA Act. That means less than 3% variable day to day. So we want to look at what those delayed hypersensitivities or those delayed reactions are so that we can help our patients or our clients to remove those items for a period of time from their diet, from their world, so that they can recover from that. If it's a food item, we want to recover from that. If it's an environmental, we want to restore our natural detoxing ability. You know, our bodies were designed to survive, and we're designed to defend while we're awake and repair while we're asleep. But when our body is overburdened by so many immune triggers, that work and repair balance is upset, or work and repair harmony is upset. And we end up with what Dr. Jaffe calls as a repair deficit, meaning our body is not repairing the way that it's designed to or the way that it's supposed to. So we want to remove those offending items for a period of time so that we can detoxify the system. Let's clear the liver, clear the kidneys, let's clean out the system, and then repair, gut repair. If we have food and chemical sensitivities, we have gut issues to address because remnants of incomplete or undigested food is a main source of food and chemical sensitivities. So we want to repair the intestinal lining, but then we want to rebuild the system with those essential nutrients that everybody needs for life. And with the LRA by ELISA Act test and the report that you receive after accomplishing your test gives you all of those recommendations. There is a health assessment questionnaire with every single test kit. Have your patient or your client fill that out. That is sent back with the blood. When you choose PERC-specific products, because they are sister companies, ELISA Act has access to the PERC ingredients. They can balance those supplements against the patient's reactive items to make sure that they are recommending the best supplements for your patient's situation. We wouldn't want to recommend certain fish oil if a patient is reactive to lemon. We're doing more harm than good there. What if a patient is reactive to pomegranate juice? That's in a few of the PERC supplements as well. So take advantage of all of the bells and whistles that are there for you, resources for you, when you're using the LRA by ELISA Act test. A rotation diet is also included. And when I say diet, I don't mean diet. I mean a food plan, a meal plan, a rotation plan to help you help your patients and clients understand the importance of rotating our foods. We become reactive to the things that we're exposed to the most. So if you have someone who eats 5 foods, they're likely to become reactive to those, or at least a portion of those. So we want to help our patients and our clients understand the importance of rotating those foods. So that rotation plan is included with the LRA by ELISA Act results, and you can use that during a detoxification period. PERC also offers a detox protocol. We would love to share that with you. We have a protocols by condition book to help you with the detox protocol, with a gut repair protocol, and even a maintenance plan. So if we're looking at women's health over 40, I'm in that category. I'm on that plan. Let's look at those nutrients that your patients and clients might need. I'm going to take a look over here at my device. I'm hoping that we have some questions. We need questions. Oh, I have people saying they can't hear me. I hope you can hear me now because, boy, I just went through a lot of information. I hope I'm not keeping that information to myself. I have a question here. If you are allergic to a food or a chemical, will you always be allergic to it? Or is there a way to remove it long enough to be able to enjoy it later down the road? Good question. Very good question. My answer is going to be, are we allergic or do we have a hypersensitivity? A true allergy is an IgE response. That's an immediate reaction. A hypersensitivity is a delayed response. So they're responding just a little bit differently, but the term allergy usually points to that immediate reaction. If you're asking about delayed hypersensitivities and the panels that ELISA Act looks at, no, you're not always reactive to those. That's the beauty of this test and of the WellGuard program. The idea is that by removing the offending items, either moderate items or severe items. So a severely reactive item means that over 50% of the cells in the well were reacting. So that's a strong reaction. Less than 40% of the cells, from about 4 or 5% to 40%, is a moderate reaction, and that should be avoided for 3 months. So we're going to avoid these items, but we also have some work to do. We have some background work to do. We have to detoxify the system. We have to repair the intestinal lining. We have to rebuild the system with essential nutrients. And then we are, in most cases, able to restore tolerance to those items. Now, is it going to be, hey, checks in the box, everybody's good, we don't have to avoid any of these items anymore? Not all the time. Not all the time. Sometimes you might have to go through another course. You'll want to test again in a year before your year is up. And you'll want to look at those items again. And you're going to go through this again until we clean up the system. We create a more robust immune system, and we restore our own natural detoxing abilities. So can we recover from delayed hypersensitivities? Yes, we can. Is it always one cycle? No, it's not. Looks like we have some new folks on there. That's awesome. Hey, Danielle. That's one of those awesome practitioners that I met out in Chicago last month. Nice to see you on here. Thanks for joining. Looks like Kim is on here too. Hey, Kim. Thanks for showing up. That was really awesome to see you. If you have any other questions, let's put those down in the box. I'd really like to help. This is my passion. This is my passion for a reason. And if you are around functional medicine practitioners, if you are around healers, if you are around those that specialize in natural therapies, you will hear them say they have their own story of how they came to this space. And I have my own story too. And I'm not going to share too much of it with you because I have a book coming out that features Dr. Jaffe and this test and how this test changed my life and changed my world. And we're talking about somebody who at the time was doing all the right things. You know, I have people that come into the center here at First State Health and Wellness in Delaware and they say, am I a candidate for this test? Is this the right thing for me? I don't know what the right thing is. I've been here, I've been there. I don't have any answers. This is the starting point. At the time that I took this test, the very, very first time, this is over 10 years ago now, I was a marathoner. I was running. I always want to quote Forrest Gump when I say that. Sorry, y'all. I was running almost 50 miles a week. I ate everything clean. I ate everything organic. I was doing all of the right things. But I was reactive to a few items that I never, ever, ever would have been able to guess. One of the reactive items for me was red grapes. We think that's not such a bad idea. Don't eat grapes, don't eat raisins. In my world, that meant red wine. And I was spending, I'm ashamed to say how much I was spending, so I won't, but I was spending an obscene amount of money trying to avoid sulfates and sulfites and buy organically grown and biodynamically grown grapes for this wine. And it didn't matter. It was the red grape itself. I was also reactive to olives. Have you ever seen natural hair care products and natural skincare products that are loaded with olive oil? Not to mention, put olive oil on everything I ate. Put it on my fish, put it on my vegetables, put it on my salad. But I was reactive to olives. I didn't get any skin issues. I didn't have any hives. I had what looked on the surface to be a thyroid condition, yet there was nothing wrong with my thyroid. And by eliminating these items, and there were a few more, I won't get too far into it, but by eliminating those items, detoxifying, repairing, and rebuilding, the same way that we teach with the WellGuard program, I was able to recover. I was able to lose the weight. I had gained 30 pounds in 6 months. I did not look healthy, folks. And I test every year now because we really are what we eat, drink, think, and do. And I lead a pretty active life. I had some stress in my life. I wonder who is watching that does not have stress in their life. And I coach my clients to not reduce the stress. I mean, we want to reduce drama, of course, but not necessarily reduce the stress, but we have to reduce our stress responses. Our stress responses rip up our guts as well, which is then going to create food and chemical sensitivities. I just got a text that there was another question and I'm not seeing it. Travis, text me the question if you will. I'm not seeing it floating in the messages there. I'm not sure what's happening. I think sometimes one device gets off from the other and it takes just a few moments for it to catch back up. Hopefully I stopped that story at a real stopping point. Sometimes I forget and I don't. I'm not seeing the question. Okay, I don't want to leave you with a bunch of dead air time there. If you have a question and I have not addressed it yet, please drop that question down into the box. One of us goes through these. Usually it's me, sometimes it's Justin, sometimes it's Travis. We have a whole team here. We're all ready to help you. If you have a question, if you are a practitioner and you would like to open your LRA by Eliza Act account, please go to the website, fill out that form, get that sent in. I will be glad to Skype with you or phone with you to help you come up with the best way to implement this program into your practice. If you are a patient and you would like to take this test, please private message us and we will find a practitioner near you and find a way for you to get this test accomplished. I did get this question. Here we go. If eating something like dairy causes symptoms pretty quickly, does that mean it's not a hypersensitivity? Does not mean that. There are differences. We have our immediate responses, we have sensitivities, and we have intolerances. We have digestive intolerances. Just because something creates gas or bloating, sometimes that's the sign that we have delayed hypersensitivity. Sometimes it's a sign that we need to detox. Sometimes it's a sign that we just really need to clean up our lives. But it doesn't always mean it's a hypersensitivity. Sometimes we have a digestive intolerance. And that's another different response. So we can have all three. We can have the immediate response, we can have the delayed hypersensitivity, and then we can have a digestive intolerance. And that's why you want to test. I tell my friends, I tell my family, I tell my customers, why guess? Let's just test. The blood can't lie. It's not even possible. So when we look at that lymphocyte, we look at that white blood cell and we see the reaction under the microscope, we being the technicians, not me. I am not qualified to do that. I have witnessed it. Certainly am not qualified to be the one on the other end of the microscope. But they see that white blood cell is responding to that particular antigen. I mean, there are things as wacky as different yellow colors, a yellow coloring. And the cool thing about the LRA report is it lists all the possible colors as up to date as they can be, because I'll tell you, some of those, manufacturers or companies that are producing these things, once people start to get a little bit onto them and start to get the information and get a little bit smarter about the products they want to use, they start adding names and switching names. One of the blues, I don't remember which one it is, don't quote me on the number, I'm not even going to say it. It has like 5 different names that it could be under. And there are times where I've seen a certain coloring listed on an LRA report, and I have found it in a white shampoo. Yet it was a blue or an orange or a yellow, and it was in a white colored body wash. Folks, you have to become a label investigator. And this report will allow you and enable you to do that, because there is a source of exposure, a history and discussion, and, if possible, a substitution for every single item that shows up reactive. It's so complete, so complete. It's all in one place for you, all with one blood draw. So simple. So again, if you're a practitioner and you don't have an LRA by ELISA Act account, please go to the website, fill that form out, get in contact with the Client Services Department. They will then, in turn, get you in touch with the sales rep that's in your area. And that sales rep and I will work together to make sure that you have all the tools necessary to communicate all of the things that you've been learning today. We'll communicate all of these things together to your patients so they understand why it's so important for you to be using this test. And if you're a patient and anything I've said to you today makes sense and it speaks to your heart and you know that this test is for you, send us a private message and we're going to find a way to get this test done for you. Y'all, I really appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and sign off. I don't see any other questions coming in here. I'll be back with you next week with more information and inspiration from Dr. Jaffe. Y'all take care. See you next Tuesday. Bye-bye.